This past weekend, we got a brand new film in my favorite horror franchise of all time, Scream. Today, I'm going to rank all 7 of the Scream films. Before I dive in, if you would subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, comment down below what's your ranking of the Scream movies. I would love to know all that and more. I'm seeing on Twitter, it's been all over the place, but on YouTube around the critic sphere, it's kind of been headed in one direction for the majority of the ranking. Mine's different. I got a little bit of a different ranking. Let's keep it civil in the comments. Everybody's got their own opinions, but again, it's Scream 7, so it's getting a lot of backlash from people that hate it or people that love it. There's always going to be a fight, so let's try to avoid that in the comment section. And with that said, my least favorite Scream movie, number 7, is not Scream 7, it's Scream 3. Scream 3 is my least favorite Scream movie. It's just the one with really nothing incredibly memorable or special to latch on to. I watched this movie twice, and when I rewatched all the movies for this ranking, I sat back and I was like, you know what? I don't really want to watch Scream 3, so I didn't really rewatch it, because it just doesn't have anything special. It's cool being on the set of the Stab 3 movie. It's fun seeing these characters again. It's cool that the killer's her brother, but there's really no kills, no big things that happen to make me be like, oh, Scream 3, that's the movie where this happens that I want to check out. It's just like, I gotta watch Scream 3 again. Again, if the lowest you're going is Scream 3, which is just an unmemorable slasher movie, then your franchise is doing a pretty great job. And I will come out and say it that Scream 3 has a few decent moments here and there, but again, like I said, it's just the movie that I sit back and I never feel like rewatching it. And even like Scream 7 is a movie that I feel like I'll be in a mood to rewatch a couple of times, where this one I'm always like, Scream 3? It's kind of boring. Number 6 is also not Scream 7. Number 6 is Scream 6. Now, I was really excited for this movie when it came out. Obviously, big fan of the franchise. Bringing Ghostface in New York sounded like an absolutely spectacular idea for me. And the movie was fine. I love how brutal the Ghostface in this movie is, bringing up a shotgun, just absolutely obliterating people. I love the creativity in the intro. The cold open was one of the more interesting cold opens in the franchise. You get Samara Weaving in here to be the victim in the cold open. Really, really interesting way to start the movie. Of course, I like the characters of Sam and with Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega, and the core 4. You got Chad and Mindy in there as well. It's always fun to see them. And, like, again, it's a Scream franchise. I don't really think there's really that bad of a film in this franchise. And so we get to Scream 6, and I'm like, you know what? There's a lot of things to really enjoy about this movie. But it's this low because it's the one that I walked out most disappointed of outside of this entire franchise. Where, like, I thought that maybe it would resolve my problem on a rewatch. And this rewatch did not resolve the problem. Where the Scream franchise is known for killing off its characters. They killed Randy in Scream 2. They killed Dewey in Scream 5. And now in Scream 6, they stab Chad a couple times. And they stab Mindy a couple times. And, you know, they get up and they're completely fine. And it comes across as, oh, the movie cares too much about the core 4. They don't want to kill him off, and they're not going to kill him off. And so I watched this movie, and I'm like, well, it's a slasher movie where no one's dying. No one's, they're getting stabbed, but they're just like, oh, that hurt. Oh, we're good. And you watch it, and you're like, well, what's the point of watching a slasher movie if no one's going to get slashed, right? And so it's always frustrating in that aspect. And then aside from that, the killer reveals, I didn't hate them when I first saw it, but they're also not really all that memorable. You know, I didn't really like that it's the fact that it's, you know, oh, it's the siblings and dad of Richie in the last movie, just like Scream 2, where the killer is Billy's mom. It's like, all right, whatever. I don't hate them as much as a lot of people do, but like they're not really all that special. So Scream 6 has a lot of elements to really enjoy, but at the end of the day, I just leave this one feeling flat. Kicking off the top 5 in the Scream franchise is Scream 7. We finally hit the new film, Scream 7. Now, it's frustrating because I think on a technical aspect, this one's worst of them all. This one's the worst one. But watching it, I had a really good time. And the reason for that is I think the kills in this movie are the best kills inside of the entire franchise. They're so creative, they're gnarly, they're gory, they're a lot of fun. And inside of a franchise where once you sit back and think about it, the kills aren't really all that creative. The fact that the kills in this movie are really creative means a lot. It's also fun to see Sidney back after we missed her in Scream 6 with her daughter Tatum. That's always fun. But at its core, this is by far the worst written Scream movie of all time. Like, it's really not even close, where everything is either nostalgia bait or just one stupid thing after another to propel the plot forward. It's a really frustrating watch, where you get scenes like Tatum's like, oh, I'm wearing the jacket from Scream 2, and Sidney's like, take that off, and I'm sitting there in the theater like, what is the significance of this jacket? And then after the movie, I'm like, that jacket was the Scream 2 jacket that she wore in a couple scenes in Scream 2. Oh, why are we doing that? The very first scene after the cold open is the exact same scene of Sidney and Billy in Scream 1, because nostalgia bait, baby. And it's just bafflingly stupid, where there's a part where you've seen it in the trailers, where Sidney, her daughter's in trouble, so she runs out into the street and is running. But at the point, the scene before that, she could have waited 3 seconds for Gale to get in the car and get there faster. Instead, she leaves and runs. Instead of getting in a car, she just runs. And, the police are never there. They don't do a single thing. And aside from that, I could forgive all that, but the killer reveals were just awful. Without spoiling it, it's like, woof, wow. There's no build-up. The very second a character appeared on screen, I'm like, that's the killer. And I leaned over to my brother and said that, and guess what? It was the killer. And, the motivation was a little bit interesting. But by the end of the movie, I'm like, you could have built that up, and you didn't, because the script is really that weak. So the killers are the worst in the franchise. The script is a mess. But, the movie had a lot of good kills, and I can forgive a lot of the sins because of the kills. That's why it's in my top 5. Technically speaking, it's probably the worst one. In 4th place, Scream 2. Now, to be clear, I did give it the same score as Scream 7 on Letterboxd, but I would consider this one to be a much better made film than Scream 7. Now, this film is always a little bit frustrating for me because I hear people say all the time, it's one of the best horror sequels of all time. And I watch the movie and I'm like, yeah, it's a good horror sequel, but I guess that's how bad some horror sequels can be when this movie is considered one of the best of all time. Because it's a good movie, but it's not great. I love the kills in this movie. It's not afraid to get brutal with, killing off Randy, which is one of the biggest surprises that this entire franchise has had. I like the college setting. I love some of the intense scenes that this movie has. Specifically, a scene inside of a car where they have to climb over a knocked out Ghostface. You got the scene with Gale and Dewey inside of the maze thing, and Gale's hiding from Ghostface. A lot of edge of your seat scenes. I love the reveal of it being Billy's mom. I really like that reveal, and I think her performance was really good. Not too keen on the reveal of Mickey. Not because I don't like the character, but because, Timothy Olyphant's performance was just Matthew Lillard in a different body. He's just like, "Ooh, I'm crazy, Sidney! Isn't that what Matthew Lillard did in Scream 1?" And so I watched the movie, and I'm like, I'm not really that big of a fan of that reveal there. But I do love the reveal about her mom. The thing is, every time I watch this movie, I'm like, yeah, that was fun. I had a good enough time with it. But it's like, when you put the mantle greatest horror sequel of all time, it needs to live up to that, and it never really does that for me. There are definitely parts of the movie where it drags and isn't really all that fun to watch. So, it's a movie that I enjoy, but you can't call it one of the best horror sequels of all time, especially when you do that and you think, oh, it's going to be just as good as the original Scream, and it's not even close to as good as the original Scream. So I like Scream 2, but every time I watch it, I'm a little bit frustrated by how much I don't love the movie like a lot of people do. Before I dive into my top 3, if you would, hit the subscribe button, the like button, and the bell. The most important thing here is to comment down below what's your opinion on the Scream franchise and what is your ranking of the movies. I'd love to know all that and more. Stay tuned. Check out my TikTok page at ZachDFilms2005. I would love to know, or go check that out. I would love to know your reaction to, the movies ranked by the killers and the movies ranked by the cold opens that I'm going to put out on there as well. And with that said, kicking off the top 3, Scream 4. This is one of the most brutal and gnarly films inside of the franchise. I remember watching it with my brother, and I remember, grimacing at a lot of the sequences. Like this one's brutal. This one's gory. It has a vibe to it that just feels darker than a lot of the other films in this franchise. I love seeing the characters back at a different style of life. This is, I think, 10 years after Scream 3, and so it's cool just to see these characters again, get them meeting up with each other at this phase of life. The cold open is really, really good in this movie, where it just constantly takes the rug from you and just sweeps it out, and you don't know what's going to happen. It's a good way to set the tone for the movie. But the best thing is the killer reveal of Jill, and how you genuinely think for a second that the movie allowed Ghostface to win. And again, kind of adding to that gnarly vibe of the film, could Ghostface win? And you genuinely think he does for a minute. And I just like how creative this movie is. It's a lot more creative than Scream 3, kind of setting the franchise back on track. So Scream 4 is a movie that I always really enjoy, and I think is the most criminally underrated film in the Scream franchise. But my runner-up is Scream 5. They titled the movie Scream, and it's the runner-up to Scream in the Scream franchise. It's weird titles. Scream 5 is my runner-up. I love Scream 5. It's more of a guilty pleasure of mine, that every time I watch it, I realize, no, it's not as brutal and gnarly as Scream 4. No, it's not as masterful as Scream 1. But I love Scream 5. It's awesome to get the characters that Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega play, as well as the rest of the core 4. It's awesome to see them. Obviously, you got Jack Quaid in there, who is a lot of fun, especially as a killer. Mickey Madison is in the film as well. And so it's obviously just an absolutely spectacular cast. But the best thing about this franchise is obviously how meta it is, and exploring, the tropes of the horror world, and having a movie where it focuses on the tropes of a requel is awesome, because we kind of did that with 4. That was before every franchise had to have a requel, and it's just cool having that sequence with Mindy explaining to everybody the rules of the requel, and it's very good meta commentary for this type of film. I said that it's not as brutal as 4, and that is true, but the kills are pretty entertaining in here, and seeing Gail, Sidney, Dewey back is awesome. And, I get a lot of people hate Dewey's death in the movie, but that's another thing I really like. Not that I hate Dewey or anything. I love Dewey. He's one of my favorite characters of the franchise. But you watch these movies and, you watch Halloween, and they don't kill off any of the big characters. Here, it was very shocking that Dewey bit the dust. And I just loved what they did there. So this is more of a guilty pleasure of me, one that I always enjoy watching, and one that I go back to quite often. As much as I love this movie, it really doesn't hold a candle to my number 1, though, which is Scream, obviously. This is Scream 1, not Scream 5. We just talked about Scream 5, which is also named Scream inside of the Scream franchise. Names, everybody! Yeah! Put me in that studio, man. Anyways, what more can I say about this movie? I've talked about it 100 times on the channel. It's my favorite horror movie of all time. I absolutely adore this movie. Everything about this movie, I absolutely adore. It's, you love these characters. It gives you characters that you love, played by Neve Campbell, who is just awesome. Even the 2 killers, Billy and Stu, are just awesome. You care about them even when they're not killers, and when they're killers, every time that reveal comes, I get chills running down my spine, oh boy, it's about to get good, baby. And it does get good. And, the third act is probably my favorite third act of all time, with the reveals, the carnage candy, the motives, how meta, how smart the script is. The script by Kevin Williamson is just absolutely spectacular. There's never a dull moment in the film. You always got some intense sequence, some character moment, some kill that just keeps you invested the whole movie, while also exploring, the tropes of the horror world, where it's so smart, and you never get movies like this anymore, where you get the movie Halloween, which revives, or which starts the slasher genre, and you get Scream, which just kind of revives it. That's how important this movie is to the horror genre, and I absolutely loved every single minute of this movie. I love every single minute of this movie every single time I watch it, because I've watched it probably 1,000 times by now. I watch it every 3 months. That's how much I watch this movie, and that's how much the movie never gets old, that it's constantly a 5-star, and constantly I watch the movie and I'm like, yeah, I love this movie. I find something new to love every single time with Scream. So thank you for watching my Scream ranking. Scream, obviously the best one. I would love to know your opinions on the franchise and your ranking down below in the comment section. While you're down there, if you would, hit the like button and the bell. I got still a really busy week. The spoiler review of Scream 7 came out yesterday. I still got to rank the February movies I saw. And then Resident Evil Requiem is coming out. And then I'm going to the movie 7 times this week with The Bride and Hoppers, and then I got the Oscar Marathon on Saturday, so that's watching 5 movies all day on Saturday. But it's going to be a busy week, so make sure to hit that bell and subscribe.